Hello and welcome to the live stream Q&A for The Protector. My name is Arjang Zafar. I am a programming director at Path, and I'm here with director Lennon Savant. Len, would you like to introduce yourself in a bit more detail?
Sure, yeah. First of all, it's very nice to be here. Thank you for programming our film, The Protector. Protector is my fourth feature. I am originally from Sri Lanka. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, and all my films are based here in Toronto. Um, that's pretty much it. I've been doing this filmmaking for over 15 years now, and this is my fourth feature film.
Great, thank you. So let's just get into it then. So to start, can you just sort of tell us about, I guess, some of the inspirations for this story? Whether they be, filmmaking inspirations or general storytelling or any kind of personal interest or life things that inspired you to tell this story.
Sure, yeah. So as I said, I came from Sri Lanka, and I grew up in a small remote village where we are primarily Hindus, and then we have how we have like Ganesha, Shiva, and Krishna, the primary gods, and then we have also these protective gods whose temples usually around the border of the village, and then this particular god is called Bhairava. There's a temple for him in our village back home, and then it's the influence that I had growing up, going to the festivals there. And then the story is that before it was banned, they used to sacrifice animals like goats to this god for the protection of the village. So 20 years ago, when I was going to taking some films courses in Ryerson University, came across Neil Gaiman's American's God, the book, and I fell in love with it. And then I asked myself, why can't we have my village god, Bhairava, in America? So that's how it's all started. So this script, I penned it down about 20 years ago. It took a while to um, made it into film, but this was the pretty much story. Yeah.
Great. And how accurate would you say the depiction of the titular protector, the god in the story, how accurate is that to sort of the reality of these kind of
Yeah. So
religious
uh,
traditions?
it's I wouldn't say any accurate or any. So these guards, the protective guards, are like they have their own stories. South India and mostly in northern Sri Lanka, and there's not you won't find them in a text or anything like that. But when uh, I used to hear all these folklores and the stories, and one of the folklores was about this sacrificing virgins to these one of these gods. So I just kind of married that concept into it. But it's there's nothing concrete or anything accurately portrayed there. It's half of them. It's it came from various other stories, but with
See. Um, yeah, so I guess I wanted to kind of add on to, to elaborate on some of that. Like, um, was there sort of you said that it was based on things that you had experienced in childhood and you were inspired by the Neil Gaiman book and everything, but like, was there a particular reason that you became like fascinated with these sort of religious sort of imagery and the symbols and and the folklore beyond just, it was just something you grew up with, so it was just there.
so I was always a fan of thrillers, and
Mhm.
I'm a huge fan of Hitchcock.
Okay.
And it's just Neil Gaiman's book gave me such a such it influenced me in such a way. Hey, we can have our Bhairava here in America and have him roam around and protecting people, and it's pretty much very similar. And then maybe growing up, we had a civil war there, and the primary god, as I mentioned, Ganesha, Shiva, and Krishna, was losing popularities, and then the villages are more gearing towards these protective guards like Bhairava, Kalyamma, Muniappa, all these protective guards. And then during my time, that these festivals that we did for this guard was very elaborate, and then there were stories told, and then we were hoping that the village would be spared if we treat him nicely. And then he was getting more popular, and maybe probably because of that, because I we went through a war, and then it's it's imprinted in my mind vividly, all my films about the Sri Lankan war. But this has nothing to do with it. But um, because of that, and then because of my love for thriller, and because the influence that I have from Hitchcock's films, maybe it just happened this way.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that the story itself is obviously very larger than life. It deals with some kind of, outlandish things that, most people can't necessarily relate to, at least on the sort of metaphysical level.
Mm.
And yet, there are obviously uh, you know, very human moments and human characters in it. How do you tell a story about something that's so big and outlandish and still make it kind of relatable and you know uh have people engage with it on their own level?
Yeah. So it was quite difficult, and the fact that we had very little budget to shoot this film too, and then I had to work my script around to sort of tell the story the way that I wanted to do. And then this is something outlandish, as you said. Um, but I think that's what we are proud of as filmmakers. Like we within the budget and within the constraint that we had, we shot this film during the COVID in the remote, like let's see, 800 kilometers north of Toronto. So we face so much challenges and all that on top of all this. Um, but if you ask me, the central theme is about this. One should choose their own destiny, and this vigilante justice system is something you shouldn't tolerate it. But in the human history that we've been doing this forever, people are calling shot for the others in the name of good. But everything is subjective, right? So that's the theme that I wanted to hang on to. And then that's where the humanity and the Evelyn's character and all that happens. Like for me, at the end of the day, it's about Evelyn, and it's about her life, and then how she perceived, how she's trying to live in this world where her fate is being determined by so-called vigilantes or someone else. And they and then how you break from it and come out of it, right? And this is something that we humans are doing it for a long time. It's happened in colonial times, and it's still continue to happen. So that theme is something that close to me, and I'm very passionate about that thing. So sort of holding on to that theme is what gave me the when I wrote it, it just I was able to confine the whole thing into a cohesive way that I can tell a human story through this. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. I think that definitely came through. You mentioned the central character of Evelyn. I'm curious about what the casting process was like for that and how you sort of helped, to bring that character to life with the lead actress, because it's such a grounded, very human character who's experiencing all these sort of insane things, but still maintains believability. And I'm curious about what it was like to cast it and build that character with her.
Yeah, very good question. I was very adamant about this central character to be not older than 23 years old, because I want that to be believable. So Chelsea was 22 years old when she acted this film, and then we had to go through so many girls, and then I was looking for somebody who has the stamina, because it's a very conflicted character with a lot of dark things, and then I want somebody who can handle the pressure. And we shot this film for 17 days. All 17 days, Chelsea has like full schedule, because the film is about her. And then so I was looking for someone who's not only a good actor, but also has that stamina to pull it through. And then as soon as Chelsea's clips came in, my casting director Joanne told me, like, you should see this girl. And then I liked her, like something about her made sense to me. And then we had 2 or 3 separate meetings, auditions, and then she nailed all of them, and then that's how it happened.
Yeah, great. And then, so kind of on the flip side, I guess, I'm also curious, you have this character of the protector god, which is obviously very different. It's someone who's essentially not human and doesn't have, we don't see any humanity from that character. And maybe there's less going on, but it's still, I'm still curious about, like, how do you, how do you find that person?
Yeah, as I said, this oh, that's a good question too. As I said, this story is inspired by this guy, right, the protector, and then it
Yeah.
slowly turned into Evelyn's story. And so I had so many ideas and so many preconceived ideas for that protector, and then we had such a hard time finding a protector too. And then Pras, I know him for a long time, and then he wanted to audition it. Then it came through. I couldn't, because he's a friend of mine for a long time. Then I asked my producer Munire and Joanne, my casting director, what do you guys think? And they felt right for him. And then I said, we went with Pras, and the other thing is Pras also grew up in Sri Lanka like me, and he's his background also there, so it was easy for me to for him to understand where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to tell. And for the god, for the protector, we shot a lot of scenes, like him dancing, him cooking, and all that. Then when we at the cutting and at the editing table, that the pace has problems, so that we had to get rid of the dance and then make them into a montage, and then make sure that the focus is on Evelyn and the genre, thriller genre. So it wasn't easy casting, and as well as like losing some of these scenes, because I know audience are going to feel disappointed, like, hey, we want more about this protector. But I think that disappointment could be good, in a sense, have them wonder about this guy more, and then they leave the theater thinking about this protector. Who is he? Where is he heading? And what's his next 100 years gonna be? Things like that. So I'm hoping that worked out, or removing most of the scenes that we shot.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like an air of mystery about the character, so I think that was probably successful. So you you mentioned kind of working with a fairly low budget on this project. Can you sort of talk about how you, what sort of, how did you work around, not having as much of a budget, and, kind of bringing such a big story to life with such a small budget? And if you have any kind of insight into kind of working as a lower budget filmmaker.
Yeah. So
And yeah,
so what happened is, like, there are three scenes that I have to get rid of. One is, I wanted to open the film with how Eli's sister gets stuck in the fridge, and then him being dragged around by the police. We wanted to start the film with that in the junkyard, and then we didn't have the budget, and then for the COVID. Using children in the film set has it was very difficult. So not only the budget, but also that we can have kids beating another kids and all that, and then touching them, and all this COVID protocol was an issue. So then I said I had to have Eli kind of tell it through his mouth. So we drop that scene and then have him tell that through his mouth. I know it's an exposition, but I thought, like, if you had the emotions right, like where Evelyn was like, she's given up, that okay, she's gonna die, she's the next girl. She found out that Dr. Flora was the one off behind all this, and then at that time Eli comes in and tell this backstory, and then give her the confidence. So through that emotions, I was able to hide that exposition. And then not only that, also the Evelyn character stabbing the girl with a pencil, the bullies. She's being bullied in the juvie, and then there's a huge fight scene. So stunt scenes are expensive, and we needed a different locations. So I had to cut that and then have Dr. Flora talk about it, and also Dr. Flora's backstory, which is about the house being burned, and she's coming home with all the package and seeing it. Also, we didn't have the budget. On top of it, one more scenes that I didn't want to cut at all. It's when the protector takes over the town, how he kills those 57 people. So he jumps around and then crush their head skulls in a nightclub. First six killing is happening in a nightclub with these guys. So those scenes we have to get rid of it because we didn't have the budget. So, but still getting, like, these are the visual things that makes the film happen. And then
yeah,
still I was able to drop all these main scenes and then kind of bake those things into the general narration. At the same time, I use the emotions to hide the exposition, hide all the information that I'm pushing into the people. I'm using it as an emotion, like Dr. Flora. Evelyn is at loss. She's saying, "Help me, please." And then at that emotion gives a way for the Dr. Flora to talk about her past, which now becomes an emotional conversation rather than an
yeah,
exposition. So that's the
yeah.
trick we used. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for filmmakers who have such similar big ideas, but don't have the budget to necessarily, or feel that they don't have enough of a budget to make them happen?
Yeah, so don't give up on it, right? Like, what is the central theme, and what's the core that you're trying to address here? And then stick to that, and then everything else is
Yeah,
relevant, right? You're not going to be given a studio film to direct, right? So compromise is the way that, and compromising in a creative sense, it's also creativity. It also speaks
yeah,
about the talent, right?
absolutely.
Exactly. So just don't hold back. Don't look for the extra couple of $100,000 to arrive. Just start shooting, because when the money comes, your actress won't be there. When the money comes, your DOP won't be there, right? Just if everything's coming together, you have to believe in yourself and then start dropping scenes and then make that work. Budget on a budget concept.
Constraint.
Constraint, yeah,
Yeah,
budget constraint, yeah.
yeah. No, that's great. So yeah, to shift gears a little bit, the film obviously deals with some very kind of serious, heavy subject matter. You have the childhood trauma, the assault scenes. There's a lot going on in there, and I'm curious about and it's essentially what is often referred to as a genre film, right? It's like a sort of supernatural thriller. How do you I guess this is a two-part question. How do you sort of incorporate, like, what's your thought process of incorporating such dark, heavy subject matter, difficult subject matter into that kind of film? And do you feel that sort of more genre films should tackle such like complex and difficult like themes?
Yeah, that's a um, so genre. It's something that it's there because it worked, right? There's a huge
Sure.
audience for it. Like art films, art house films. There's a very small time type of films, but genre films, like, it resonate with anyone quickly. It captures the audience, and then it gives them something, right? It takes an emotional response from the audience, and then it works. And if you want to, like, as a filmmaker and as an artist, if you have a strong message, not the message, but as it is, like, the societies consist of a lot of it's not equal in any ways, right? And then there are a lot of flaws, and then as an artist, you can bring out these through a genre film, and then you can sort of spread the awareness of these things through genre films. And then I think, and then it's easy to do. It's very easy to do, right? The girl with a dragon tattoo is a great example, right? It's a very conflicted, um, abused protagonist story, but it's it's put on a serial killer's path, right? So I think we have to do so. Then, and it's not only brings out the flaws in the society, but it also adds to it. It's layering, right? It's genre is something that's helping us to tell a story that worked in a way, but it's giving a new perspective from this layering and the dark shades and all that. And I don't know. That's how I'm seeing it.
Great. No, yeah, I think that's a great answer. So okay, so for my last sort of big question, I wanted to ask, and this is not necessarily about this film so much, but you are welcome to bring up the film itself. Um, as as an Asian filmmaker working in Canada, a Sri Lankan filmmaker working in Canada, um, actually, there's sort of another two-parter. One, um, have you, in your career as a filmmaker, felt pressure to, you know, take on certain kinds of work, make certain kinds of films? Um, and, if so, can you tell us about that experience? And then also, um, sort of, do you yourself feel a responsibility or a need ever to represent yourself and your work in a particular way, or are you kind of more, just concerned with just letting it speak for itself?
Yeah. So to your first question, am I pressured? Um, so I came from a unique background, right? I'm from a Sri Lanka, northern Sri Lanka, and I grew up, have like first 16 years of my life in a village, about compromising of 300 families. And then later on, I'm here in this huge metropolitan city, Toronto, with millions of people, right? So this is a unique to me. And then um, when I tell a story from where I come from, it's always, it's like my nature too. Like, it's my seeing my back of my hand because I experienced it. It's easier, and then it becomes unique to others too. Nobody else would tell my stories. So that's an advantage that I see it. So that's why all my films somehow strongly related to my past or strongly who I am. But also, it's not a pressure, but also the funding agencies or the people here, they also encourage that. right? Then they wanted you to be stick to whatever that you can bring something new, and then you what you can bring new to the world is from your unique past. So in that way, that it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But there's sort of a pressure also there, right? When you started making something completely different, now that people are there's a preconceived the prejudice happen, right? Okay, Lenin's films, all four of them are about Sri Lankan Tamil people. Then the next one is going to be, now if he makes a about some Canadian white family film, then they're going to think like, you know, let's that's also there. And then
You're
that,
gonna be suspicious of what
yeah,
comfort
yeah,
is. Yeah,
exactly, right. So
sure.
uh, so it's, I don't know if it's a pressure, but you can break out and make it. But this way, it's easier. People will listen to you. People will, when you pitch it, they will listen to you. They are interested because you are telling them something they don't know, and
Yeah.
you're very, yeah. So that's it. What's your second question? Sorry, I completely escaped.
Yeah, no, so the second part was I was asking if you yourself ever feel, not necessarily from like external pressure, but if you ever have a feeling of like, I am a filmmaker of this nationality, of this background, and I like, is there an internal sense of like I have to represent, this background and these people in a particular way, or or not. Like I'm not, saying one or the other is correct. I'm curious what your feelings about it are.
No, yeah, the so as I said, I'm a huge fan of Hitchcock, right? So
Yeah,
the my influence, and then why I wanted to become a filmmaker could become from Hollywood films, right? Seeing Hollywood films in the 70s and 80s. Um, so right now, I I I think I can make those films, but I'm gearing towards to films like my Ruba or Ring and 99, and which are all revolves around the Sri Lankan Tamil community in Toronto, uh, because it's there's there's something more than films. Like if you take away the Protector, like my other three films, like the last film, Ruba, it's about a transgender woman trying to come out of the Tamil community, right? So this is more than a film for me, because when the film came out, there wasn't any Sri Lankan open transgender woman out there in the world, and then now it's about 25 of them. I'm not saying that Ruba influenced them to come out, but Ruba definitely made an impact on the conversation around this topic, and then made a huge deal. So other than a film, that now, like when you make films about your roots and then something very native, and then you can do something also to the society, right?
yeah,
So that's makes it another level and a profounding way, in a way. So that's that's something that I wanted to pursue. And but at the same time, I have my reservations too, right? These films, they don't do well in box office, and it's hard to sell. Like Protector got sold right away, but I couldn't sell all the other three films because there's not a market, right? So there's this too, like the financial aspect and all these things there too. So as a filmmaker, you have, where do you draw the line, right? That's something that I also tackle and then struggle. But one film at a time. I'm here to make films, and then that's what I'm doing, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thank you. Just to close out, I guess I'll ask you: is there anything that you're currently working on that you are, interested in kind of letting people know that it's happening, and also like, how can people sort of follow you and follow your work?
Oh, but I'm working on many scripts. I
Yeah,
really don't know what's the next one, but people can follow me on Twitter, on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Lenin Sivam. Uh, they can follow me there, and that's it. And as I said, it was a pleasure having our film at your festival. Thank you for
Likewise,
programming it.
of course. Yeah, so thank you to Len and Sivam, and to our viewers, thank you for tuning in if you have. Check out Lennon's other work, check out our other programming. You can obviously go to pap.org and find our other stuff. You can find our Q&A schedule if you want to see more of these. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.